Good morning, Matt Waldman. How are you this fine day?
Well, pretty good, pretty good. Get a little bit of a day off,
Kind
thankfully.
of.
Kind of,
Kind
sort
of. It
of.
is Memorial Day. People just 250 years into this enterprise we call the United States of America, like 1,350 some thousand people have given their lives for me and Matt Waldman to sit here and say fuck all we want. And we appreciate that. And we
Yes.
appreciate all the families who have lost kind of generational ties to things they could have had. So
And the
sitting here
people
thinking,
who continue to
right.
give their service.
Right, that as well. But it goes beyond the people who gave their lives. It goes to the families that have lost out generationally on their presence. So,
Yeah.
thoughts to all of you today, and thoughts to all of them. Now we will talk about football. First, we'll start with the rookie scouting portfolio. Your projections are ongoing. How's the process, young man?
I feel like I'm in school giving a status report. Well, Teach, I would say that I'm probably gonna be done with the projections end of it probably by the end of this week. I'll do rankings over the weekend and into the following week, and I would say probably no later than the 10th of June. I'll have it ready. Probably
I'd like
sooner
it the
than
ninth.
that.
I'd
Yeah,
like it the ninth.
you might even get it the 8th. Dude, I mean, you might
The
even
way
get it
things
the
have been
5th.
going, you've been on a tear like this. By the way, in case you just dialed this up, he is Matt Waldman, author of the Rookie Scouting Portfolio. You can find him at mattwaldman.com, and you can order your Rookie Scouting Portfolio there. You can also find his work at Football Guys, where you'll find my work. I'm Bob Harris.
Yes, the
Find us
inimitable.
both. Find us both on the various social media platforms at our names, at Matt Waldman for him, at Football Diehard for me. It's like my name, except it's like a nickname. So there. Okay, so we touched base on something last week. Let's get on with the feeling and fucking. We touched base on this last week, and I just wanted to kind of circle around on it because it was kind of a big story. The Tush push continues. So just, like, look, for my purposes, like, all I care about is Jalen Hurts scoring a shit ton of touchdowns. But the just the overall drama, is this sour grapes from teams that can't stop it, or is legitimate safety concern?
I think if it was like Cliff Kingsbury or Brian Dable or especially the Dallas Cowboys making some sort of concern about this and leading the charge to be against it, I would probably be more thinking it's sour grapes. But the fact that Buffalo Bills head coach Sean McDermott is the one leading the charge.
Well, it was the Packers who came up with the
They did
with
Gutenkiskin, yeah.
right.
But apparently McDermott has been the one to double down on it and continue
It's
to
weird
talk
because
about it.
they're like the second highest, quarterback sneaking team, even though Josh Allen doesn't score nearly as much from inside.
Which again kind of gives credence to me to why I think that there may be some reason for safety concerns if you have some medical experts that say we don't have definitive proof, but when you think about the way that the tush push is performed, that there's some common sense ideas to how that can create further injury. And so I think that it's a good thing for the NFL to be ahead of the curve on something rather than behind the curve on it when it comes to injuries, and that's something that the NFL has usually been not only behind the curve, they let the curve literally pass them by, and they'd wait a few years until it came and orbited back around and hit them in the back of the head and say, "Hey, assholes, did you figure out that maybe this is an unsafe thing to do?" So I kind of understand the desire to kind of get ahead of this stuff, but again, have we seen documented injuries from it? And I guess they want to wait for a little bit more.
I feel like the only injuries here have been the butt hurtness of opposing teams who have lost to this from a fantasy perspective. Jalen Hurts, double-digit rushing touchdowns in each of the last 4 seasons, 52 over the last 4 years, 12 more than Josh Allen's 40. Go to the 3 years, they've been keeping numbers on the tush push, and Hurts leads all quarterbacks in attempts inside the 5-yard line over that span. Getting 47% of the Eagles carries in that line. Jerry Jones was asked about this, and I thought he told the whole story. He said, "I thought, am I really against the tush push or just don't want Philadelphia to have an edge?" And kind of got pressed on that. He said, I don't know. I flip flop, but I think that's probably the part of the story, right? Like,
Yeah.
just
I just don't know if owners are the ones to really ask, because they don't give a fuck. These players are basically they're the most awesome thing in the world when they have them under contract and they're winning Super Bowls for them. And when when things go bad, they're disposable. So I would rather look at coaches who are a little bit more of a boots on the ground, have more human interaction with these guys, and see these guys as a little bit more human than I think owners often do.
Right.
And so that's why, like, I haven't really delved into it.
I kind of wonder if why, like, you wonder if Roger Goodell didn't have a hand in this, and if so, like, having the team without an owner basically do the dirty work of coming in on this kind of makes sense. I will say, last season, the wild card, the Eagles beat the Packers 22-10. The vote against the Packers resolution on this was 22-10. The Eagles and Packers play in Week 10 this season. I'm taking the over on the Jalen Hurts touchdown number, I believe, that week. Just not for nothing.
There we go.
So there we have it. Tush push drama. NFL loves drama. They're going to keep creating this kind of stuff.
You know what? Just give them all some Charmin and shut up. How about that?
Speaking of the drama, Aaron Rodgers to the Steelers. Let's say, is it a foregone conclusion and has been all along, or you feel that or fuck it?
I'm feeling it. I mean, really, you're going to go into the season with Mason Rudolph? My buddy
Kirk
Steve
Cousins.
Yeah, or that. Mason Rudolph, ham sandwich, or Skylar Thompson.
I know which one you're rooting for.
I know which one I'm rooting for too. But and that's kind of tush push drama on my own end, probably from that standpoint. I do have a vested interest in that one. But yeah, I mean, realistically, or Will Howard, I don't think any of them are probably going to be ready or perceived as what you want to go into the season with. I think Aaron Rodgers is that, and I think that, again, Aaron Rodgers revealed recently, I guess, that, and I didn't read the story, I just saw the headline, that he revealed that he's been dealing with family members who have cancer
diagnosis,
and so maybe the Steelers, what's going on with the Steelers, they just decided to have the discussion, and the Steelers were like, we'll wait for you, and you do what you need to do, and we'll just act like that this is things that's not to be advertised, or talked about, and I think they just decided to let Aaron be the one to decide whether he wants to broach that topic.
Right, following the trail of breadcrumbs. I mean, the comments at the draft by Art Rooney too, basically saying, we're not going to change our draft strategy based around Aaron Rodgers. At that point, I started thinking, well, they've already got their answer, and everyone agrees that it's probably in the best interest of everybody not to have Aaron Rodgers and the circus that comes with him around for stuff that doesn't really matter. And it'll happen when stuff matters. And if it doesn't, we'll see. He gave a hint. I think he was speaking at somewhere, I want to say Austin, Texas, or some kind of event where, they asked him if he would ever play for the Bears, and he said, not really, no, but I might play in Chicago at some point. I guess the Steelers play in Chicago this year, and he kind of said that the only other team that might have an opening, the Saints, he's kind of said he doesn't want to play there. Big said I want to live in Louisiana. So I feel like this has been a foregone conclusion all along. There was reporting with the George Pickens trade that Rodgers was part of those, or was in on or knew about the move. So I just feel like this is all, we like the drama, right? Oh, Aaron Rodgers, will he or won't he? And the Steelers are here doing things, acting like they have a pretty good idea of what the outcome is. I'm going to go with that until I have further notice. Look, we were speaking before the show. Nothing shocks me anymore. I might be surprised, though, if things don't happen. I'd be surprised if Aaron Rodgers is not a Steeler. New coordinator in Detroit, Johnny Morton, replaces the great Ben Johnson, who moves on to Chicago. Jahmyr Gibbs and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Play caller proof. Feel it or fuck it.
I don't think anybody's play caller proof because really AJ Brown,
son of a bitch.
AJ Brown would be a guy that I would say is play caller proof.
Fair enough.
And Is he still a good fantasy starter? Absolutely. Should he be mentioned in the same breath as Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson? If he were playing for, say, I don't know, the Atlanta Falcons or with Michael Penix, in the next year or two, or playing for a team that had a high-octane passing offense, yeah, he should be. So I would say, am I worried about Amon-Ra St. Brown or Jahmyr Gibbs? No, Bob Harris, I'm not. I'm
not either.
Yeah.
Amon-Ra St. Brown. I mean, we're talking about a guy who finished last year? Was he wide receiver 2 or 3?
Yeah,
wide receiver 2.
Yeah,
three. He's been consistently productive over the course of his career, surprisingly so, some might say. But either way, I think he's got the locked in role in this offense. No matter what, Johnny Morton has basically said, look, I don't have to reinvent this wheel. It's rolling pretty well. So I would expect that to go.
It was like him at USC when he was playing wide receiver in Detroit. He just kind of, he didn't reinvent the wheel. So
3 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. He and Larry Fitzgerald, the only wide receivers in NFL history, had multiple seasons with 100-plus catches, 1,000 receiving yards, and 10-plus touchdowns in their first 4 years in the league. He's been very good. Jahmyr Gibbs, I'm a little more concerned for Jahmyr Gibbs, and I get why, he might be sliding down. I've seen drafts where Ashton Genty goes ahead of him. Those would not be drafts I'm drafting him, but I can see the argument, right? Like, there's a clearer path to workload for Genty than there is. I mean, there's still a David Montgomery still exists, and the two have been wildly successful. And speaking of Montgomery and Gibbs together, it hasn't slowed either of them down very much. They both produced at a high level. But if I'm drafting really early, and I think I might get David Montgomery as a running back 3, and there are other players in that early half of that first round I might think have great upside, I might do that. So that's kind of where we're at. But no, I don't think they'll slow down either. I don't think they're play caller proof either, but I don't think they're slowing down this year.
I don't think Johnny Morton is going to drop the ball in this situation.
I don't know if we call him John or Johnny. I've heard both. I'll call him Johnny just because
I just remember him from USC and the
no,
Detroit
that's
Lions.
Not him.
That's not him.
Guy.
It's
no,
a different
dude.
Guy. Oh, really? I'm disappointed. Guy. I was hoping it was that Johnny Morton.
I think everyone was. David Montgomery, I mentioned. I think he's going right now as running back 24. Feel it or fuck it.
Oh, I'm feeling that all day long. I mean, he was banged up last year for a little bit of time. No, I think he's definitely overlooked. People are going to look at age. It just makes me laugh. New coordinator in Detroit, and now everybody's like running off the Detroit bandwagon. I mean, I'm kind of,
I hope so.
Or they got one foot off. I think they're not running away from it. I think yet last week when we talked about Miami, everybody ran away from that bandwagon as fast as they could. I think this one they got 1 foot off, and they're deciding whether they're going to hop off or not. But I think. There's nothing wrong with David Montgomery right now. I mean, and he's still in the prime of his career. And we have an offense that's still in its prime. We haven't lost any offensive linemen, have we? No. We still have our quarterback. We still have our wide receivers and our tight end intact. It seems to me that you continue to believe that this is going to be a good offense.
Montgomery, 404 carries, 1,790 yards, 25 touchdowns, 52 receptions for 458 yards over the last 2 seasons. That's pretty good. 16 points per game last year. He missed the 5 games with a knee injury. He ranked 14th in the league in the games he did play with a 16-point per game average. So might be some value to be had there, boys and girls. Jameson Williams in that same offense, ready to emerge as a consistent producer. Feel it or fuck it.
Fuck it. I think he's the same as I think it's the role he's in. The roles he in is the field stretcher. He's going to have you some big weeks because he's a big play guy. But I don't think you're going to see him suddenly be the David Montgomery to Amon-Ra St. Brown's Jahmyr Gibbs. I don't think that's how that's going to work in terms of consistency out there. But, I mean, you want to add him and have him as your 4th receiver. He's going to be a damn good 4th receiver on your roster, ideally. And if you need him for your wide receiver 3, well, if you've got a strong team everywhere else, you're probably going to get, big weeks from him that will take care of, that will help your team, even if he comes up with some goose eggs every once in a while.
I think people who drafted him as their 5th receiver in the 9th round last year are going to think, I can, just move it up a little bit. And maybe they're right. And I think that's kind of how it's playing out. But I think you should have that same expectation as Matt Waldman just laid out. I feel that. Sammy LaPorta. His name's Sam. I'm just doing the Sammy thing as I did the Johnny thing. I'm ashamed of myself. 2024 was a tale of two seasons for one Sam LaPorta. Slow start, ended up with 13 plus fantasy points per game down the stretch. High-end LaPorta is the real LaPorta. Feel it or fuck it.
Oh, totally feeling it. And I like Sammy Stroder. Remember Sammy Stroder, the Oregon State wide receiver? Maybe not, because he didn't really do much. He went down
Anyway,
to LaPorta.
I think you're the only one who falls into the I remember Sammy Stroder category.
Yeah, but there we go. He had a cup of coffee with the Chiefs, I think. But Sam LaPorta, definitely more the high-end route runner player after the catch. Option that's going to work out well in that game, who just he's reliable. They like to work the middle of the field. He's the guy that they're going to use on those types of routes, and when they do work the sideline, it's going to be the short to shallow intermediate range, and that's where LaPorta does his best work as running out routes. So, no, I think what we saw at the end of the second half of the season is closer to what we're going to see from him this year.
I think what we saw early in the season last year should remind us all when we hear about these injuries in training camp. He had a hamstring issue. Oftentimes these training camp injuries linger in and we see guys slowed down. We see guys coming off injuries that take longer than we think they should take to get back up to speed. Just keep these things in mind as you're making your, if not draft decisions, lineup decisions as we get into the season. Nobody was benching Sam LaPorta early because he had a tender hamstring in camp. But when the numbers were disappointing, if you had other options, there came a point where probably you should have played him until things regulated. And regulate they did. Isaac Teasla, big, fast, like that. Bob Harris likes that. I'm very intrigued. His wide receiver 16 ranking among this year's rookies receivers is not quite as impressive. Is that a value? What is Teasla?
He's not a value right now, and I think it's a bad fit in Detroit. And I'm going to say, and at first I thought, okay, maybe it could be a Kenny Galladay-like thing,
right,
or a Chase Claypool type thing, right? But what did Kenny Galladay and Chase Claypool have in common? They both played on offenses that did not utilize the tight end very much in the passing game. The tight ends were like dump-off options, if they even rarely existed at all during that time. They had two really good wide receivers that they used to kind of create a scenario where then the third option, being Claypool or Galladay, could match up against a linebacker or a safety. Now, that could happen here with Jameson Williams added to that mix in LaPorta, but now you're talking about, let's count the options. Are we going to see Jahmyr Gibbs' numbers fall because of Isaac Teasla? Unlikely. Are we going to see Sam LaPorta's numbers fall due to Isaac Teasla? Probably not. Let's not even mention Amon-Ra St. Brown out of that mix. He's not going anywhere. And then, Jameson Williams, Isaac Teasla. Which one? I would say Williams is still the more refined player. We're talking Teasla's probably at best the fourth or fifth option, depending on whether there's an injury right now. So is there a future for him? Absolutely. Dynasty play? Like it. Right now, I think it's doubtful he's going to be rookie Chase or rookie or early career Galladay this year.
So let me circle back around. Wide receiver 16 ranking among this year's rookies. Is that about right then?
No. I think that's a little high.
You are an evil bastard.
I am an evil bastard. That's why, that's
why
you
drafted Sammy Stroder.
That's why I live in this country, because they protect evil bastards, so but that's kind of, we're all protected, whether we're good or evil, so, but no, I mean, Teasla, to me, Isaac Teasla, oh boy, there's probably at least 20 receivers I'd rather have, maybe 25. I'll put it that way. But I could say, like guys that I'd rather look at Chimere DK from the Tennessee Titans or Kanade Mumfield. The Rams is
We've
probably
spoken
the
of
same
him on
area.
this very podcast.
Elik Ayamano, or however somebody said how they tried to pronounce that. And
I think you said that right just then. You said that right.
I think I did. Ty Felton, maybe. Isaiah Neyor, the San Francisco.
The landing spot may be okay for him, but the landing spot may be okay for Teasla.
Yeah, Teasla might be all right, but I think he's in that third tier. So if you want to draft him in that third tier of guys, that to me is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. if you really want to get down to 15 to 20, I guess I could go there with you, but I have him more like 20 to 25.
6'4", 214, 4'3".
Yep.
It's a good thing that's not that 3 isn't transposed, or I would be all over that.
Yeah, Bob. Yeah, I know you would. I feel like you're giving me 3 dimensions that that people used to say all the time. So there we go.
I feel dismissed. Jayden Daniels here. This one is just meant to stir the pot here. Jayden Daniels is being drafted as quarterback 3 this year, 1 spot ahead of the aforementioned Jalen Hurts. Feel one, fuck one.
I'm going to feel Jalen Hurts on this one because the tush push has been allowed, so he's going to be able to steamroll over everybody once again. He still has 2 great weapons. I think that the scheme is pretty darn good and proven, and he's already been through that rookie year hype, second year, sophomore, I don't even want to call it a slump, but slight, adjustment period. And Jayden Daniels is about to go through an adjustment period. And when I took a look at his stats last year, and if I was going to compare his production with, say, Caleb Williams, Bo Nix, and some of the top NFL veteran quarterbacks in the league, there's what he did against pressure, which is an extra rusher based on coming into the pocket, or pressure, which is just basically your base scheme getting pressure on you. And when most quarterbacks, when it's just pressure added to the mix, their completion percentage drops precipitously. I mean, a lot of them below 50%. But the best quarterbacks still remain above 50% there. And you can see Hurts with pressure. He struggled as much as Caleb Williams.
Sure.
Took a lot of sacks, not as many as Caleb, but took a lot of sacks, fumbled the ball a fair bit, needed to, there's some things to correct there in terms of what he's going to deal with. And I think that teams are going to have an opportunity to they will have spent more time this summer figuring out ways to test him. And I think he's going to be tested. It doesn't mean that he won't pass the test, but I do think that there will be times where he may struggle a little bit. And I think it'll be just enough that Jalen Hurts will have a better season.
By the way, he's bulked up a little bit, they say, Jayden Daniels. There's a photo of him posted on the Commanders X feed.
It's part of the narrative,
Well, he said after the season, what do you need to work on this offseason? He acknowledged his quarterback coach had things he needed to check off, but one of the things he wanted to do was get a little bigger, add a little armor this offseason. So I'm glad he did that. But I think, look, I was all in on Jayden Daniels last year. I loved him because he was going in round 9.
Your credit, yeah.
Right. Well, absolutely. But at the tail end, right? At the tail end of the quarterback wants. This year, you're paying coming off a great season premium for a guy who, I feel the same about Brock Bowers. I'm paying the historic season premium. I don't want to pay that. Historic seasons are historic for a reason. They don't happen very often. I think Jayden Daniels is probably more likely to duplicate his numbers, but there was a lot of rushing numbers. A lot of things have to go right. Here's what I know about Jalen Hurts, though. And I think one of the reasons the perception is down is because he didn't throw the ball as much last year. There were 100 fewer pass attempts last year than the year before. Thanks, Saquon Barkley. But also those 52 rushing touchdowns I mentioned over the last 4 years. That's 12 more than Josh Allen's 40. No other quarterback has even 20 over the last 4 years, right? That is a huge separator. I mean, if we're investing in rushing equity, I'm not saying Jayden Daniels can't run. I'm saying at the price, if I'm getting Jalen Hurts cheaper, I'm taking that. I am. So,
historically, rookie quarterbacks who have strong first years tend to struggle in year 2 a little bit because the NFL defenses have more on them. So It doesn't mean that he's going to turn out to be a bust. It just means that why are you going to pay the premium, like you said?
Look, I'm still a big Jayden Daniels. Look, I'm still a big Anthony Richardson stan. There are things that these players can do that other players can't do, but they have to be in the right circumstance. They have to maximize their own abilities. Something we saw Daniels do, we've yet to see Richardson do consistently. So, I mean, these are all tricky equations with many moving pieces. And
I'm looking forward to Daniel Jones seeing what it's like behind a line that's worse than the New York Giants.
We'll find out.
I think
Deebo Samuel traded to the Commanders. He has 55 plays of at least 20 yards in the passing game over the last 4 years. A lot of that is catch and run. He's an ideal addition for Daniels. Feel it or fuck it.
I think he's an ideal addition for Cliff Kingsbury and a good play for Daniels too. Mainly because those plays of at least 20 yards. If you imagine them as winning one-on-one on timing routes, that's not what he does. So if you're thinking, oh, he's a wide receiver one in that sense of like he's going to expand what Daniels needs to be able to do to win in the passing game, I'd say no. If you say, oh, he's a player that is going to maximize what Cliff Kingsbury likes to do inside the line of, within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage and let him get yards after the catch, that's exactly what Deebo Samuel is. And then against zone, he can get open against zone downfield. So, you're going to get some short and long plays with him, but they're not going to be those key timing pass pattern, win contested catches, beat the one-on-one top corner. That's the Terry McLaurin stuff that you're going to get from him. So Samuel just helps in a way where now McLaurin's a little bit more freed up in that way. So in a way, I guess you could say it's an ideal addition. It's an ideal addition for the offense, and that does help Daniels for sure.
We'll see what he is as a fantasy investment. I think we might be overpaying for him, but we'll find out. Nick Chubb or J.K. Dobbins signing with the Chicago Bears. Feel one or fuck one.
I feel them both, and I'm not saying fuck it to either one of them just in protest. But for real, I would say I'm feeling J.K. Dobbins signing with Chicago late in the preseason after they've tried out the backs that they've had, but they're just waiting so that they don't have to pay the draft picks to the Chargers based on the certain tender that they assigned to Dobbins. Chubb to me feels more like a early mid-season addition when somebody gets hurt and they want to sign a veteran and give him a chance to take over. Like, to me, what I'm hoping won't happen, but if it does, I'm really hoping this is what unfolds, is if Saquon Barkley or J.K. Dobbins gets hurt, not Saquon Barkley or Derrick Henry gets hurt, Nick Chubb in Baltimore, I mean, oh my God, that would just be nasty if he's good to go. And now, Mike Tomlin, they asked Mike Tomlin about Nick Chubb and what he saw, and he said, I didn't see anything different from that dude other than that the offensive line wasn't as good and they didn't have as many chances to run. But I think teams are scared of a guy who's a little older and has had those injuries, and they just don't even want to give it a shot. Whereas with Dobbins, they at least saw a track record of what he could do last year coming back from the injury, and that's why he got tagged the way he did too.
Fair enough. And I'm like anywhere they go, as long as there's not somebody there I've already drafted in one of my many best balls that's going to take a shot.
All those shares I traded for Derrick Henry, I have Nick Chubb sitting there on those teams too. I just look at him as a handcuff. That's kind of my.
I would too. I mean, I think I would too.
I mean, if you're the Ravens, that they would be like, yeah, we need to call his ass up and get him in here.
Yeah, just for the obvious reasons outside his abilities, just for the irritation factor of the rest of that division. Rookie wide receiver Tet McMillan is, quote, that guy, unquote, according to his new teammate Adam Thielen. Thielen said McMillan's ability to play inside and outside, run all the routes, and to be able to make contested catches sets him apart. Are you feeling or fucking Thielen's view? Is he just glad-handed a new teammate, or is he telling it straight?
I think he's telling it straight from a limited point of view, because I think Adam Thielen understands how to run a route or two, and I think Stephon Diggs would probably tell you that Adam Thielen helped him understand how to run a route or two early in his career, which gives Adam Thielen a little bit of cred right there in terms of his ability to assess whether a guy can run some routes. But would I say that Adam Thielen is studying the tape with him and is seeing everything as clearly from a field level view, or that he's a little bit more impressed by pads and shorts right now in the springtime? And I would say it's still a little early, folks, because And usually from this standpoint, it is a little bit more of an attaboy. Keep working at it. You're doing good. You have the potential to be that good. Let's talk about you in the media so that we can pump you up a little bit and help you maintain that confidence. So let's wait till like the real games start to happen, or like some preseason moments where we actually see him make those difficult types of plays to prove that he's that guy.
Yeah, I'll have a lot more Thielen as wide receiver 70 in like the 14th or 15th round than I will of McMillan at his current price. Where's McMillan going? I got to see.
Because at the same time, there's another guy that happens to be pretty good at evaluating wide receivers, who was a former wide receiver who was even better than Thielen. And his particular take on Tetaroya McMillan heading to the Carolina Panthers was to show a GIF of a little boy shooting himself in the crotch with a toy gun. So, yeah. So I think Thielen's doing a little damage control there and defending his teammate, which I think is admirable.
McMillan, wide receiver 22, going about the early fourth round. So same range like Travis Hunter or Tet McMillan.
Travis Hunter or Tet McMillan? Travis Hunter.
Travis Hunter's going one pick after him right now. Yep. DJ Moore going 2 picks after him.
DJ Moore, Smith. I'll take that too. I'll take
DK Metcalf,
Smith. Absolutely.
Flowers.
Keep going.
Yep.
Keep going.
Right.
I'll take all those guys before Tet McMillan.
I think that's where I'm at as well. So look, I hope he has great success, but I don't want to bank on it, and I don't want to burn that kind of draft capital to find out. And probably anyone who drafted Marvin Harrison Jr. in the late first round or early second would be acting the same. Although those of us who drafted Malik Neighbors in the fourth round were pretty happy. So
yeah.
But I don't think anyone's going to be confusing Tet McMillan for Malik Neighbors. Is that correct? Is that safe? I'm not a draftnik. I'm just saying.
No, they wouldn't be mistaken for that. They'd be like mistaking you for I don't know.
Go ahead.
Let me think of
You're
somebody.
on the hook for it now.
Yeah,
I'm not letting you off.
I know. Let me think of somebody. Like one of the Brady bunch.
I am one of the Brady bunch. We're like in the little boxes. It works.
No,
Bengals wide receiver Jermaine Burton has attacked practice the right way this offseason. This, according to head coach Zach Taylor. A possibility of a year 2 emergence for Burton. Feel it or fuck it.
I want to feel it because I like trouble, and Jermaine Burton has been absolutely loads worth of trouble as a wide receiver. They're usually what I'm attracted to, is wide receivers who cause trouble. So we're going to have to see proof for a whole year that he's worthwhile. If you had him, and probably by my recommendation you do, you just hold on to him. Don't try and get out from under him. Just watch and wait and see if he actually proves that he's matured, he's grown up, and that this isn't some temporary thing, just trying to be able to hold on to a paycheck.
Another guy from last year's draft, MarShawn Lloyd, working without restrictions after missing all but one game last year as a rookie due to injury. Matt Schneidman of The Athletic said he looks like he offers intriguing speed, a pass-catching element that could do wonders for the Packers offense. Lloyd emerging as Green Bay's running back 2 this year. Feel it or fuck it.
I'm feeling it, but the whole could do wonders for the Packers offense, really? Like, what's he going to do? Catch like two long passes over 25 yards in the season like Austin Eckler does? And that's going to do wonders for it out of the backfield? I mean, shit. Chris Brooks can do that already right now, even though he's not as fast. And
why did I know Chris Brooks was going to come into this conversation?
Because the same reason that Chad Kelly used to come into this conversation. I want people to drink, But no, I mean, like we're playing the drinking game at home. But like, no, seriously, like I think the big thing with MarShawn Lloyd is he's a game breaker when he finds the crease, and he often can. He's got to mature as a decision maker, and he's got to hold on to the football. And those are 2 things. He wasn't holding on to the football last preseason as well as they would have liked.
True.
So he's got to fix that. But I still think he will probably wind up running back to, and that will be, and there'll be some fantasy value from him, or at least potential fantasy value that you'll need to have him on your team at some point.
By the way, if Facial Tootin's listening to this podcast, I'm sure he is. He loves Feel It or Fuck It. Hold on to the balls.
Yeah, dude.
Last
we
one
love
here,
you.
Matt.
Just hold on to it.
We love you. Well, I love you more than anybody because you're faster than the rest. Everyone knows that. Patriots wide receiver Efton Chism III, undrafted free agent, but his contract had more guarantees than any of the team's 7th round picks. According to Boston, NBC Sports Boston's Phil Perry, he stood out last week in team activities. One particular stop and go move, according to Perry, had him reminiscing about Julian Edelman. Hype or legit?
Hype. Listen, I like Thurston Howell III. Okay, I really do, and his stop-start ability is really strong. His ability, Chism is really good at those stop-start moves and the short area quickness. That's his game on film. So when you're watching him in pads and shorts, and he's beating people with stop-start movement off two-way goes, or in practice where they're playing off coverage and he fools somebody on those types of moves, that's his bag. That's what he's going to do. And yes, you can reminisce about Julian Edelman, but until he starts, you start watching him face tougher coverage and legitimate game time action, this is just more fever dream from Phil Perry, which is fine. Phil's reporting it how he sees it, and that's great, but it's a little early.
I think I should take this out to a broader issue. We are going to get reports like this, people, throughout the course of off-season workouts, the mini camps that are upcoming in training camp. We're looking down a drinking straw. We hear about this great play. This was a specific day of practice he was talking about. Maybe he did look like that day of practice. Doing that consistently, looking like Julian Edelman over the course of a year. Then maybe you start talking about him in the same breath as Julian Edelman.
Braxton Miller did this stuff in practice at the Senior Bowl. Who?
Look,
right?
Nobody heard of him.
Who?
Nobody heard of him.
Nick Vannett looked like Rob Gronkowski to some of these guys because he was facing a certain type of
I'm still holding out hope for him. You're talking about all the guys still at the bottom of my Dynasty rosters.
Sammy Stroher was certainly doing these types of stop-start.
Not even I was
Oregon
in on that.
State.
He wasn't fast enough.
He was quick though. Neither is Thurston Howell III over here.
Easy there, Lovey.
3-hour tour.
All right, that's it. I'm not going to ask you, Ginger or Mary Ann. We'll just leave it where it is. It's Memorial Day. We'll have a little respect. Hope
Regina King.
So fair enough. Goes off the board or the aisle. Whatever. All right, Matt. Take care of yourself today. Have a great day. Love you. Goodbye.
Love you. Bye.